I would like to pursue agenda item 5 a little bit, which is discussing enforcement. Yeah, I think my text here is well manicured. I think I can just read it. Critiques of the bold propositions presented in other agenda items will likely be inclined to view these propositions as the insane rantings of delusional people who are not capable of amounting any realistic enforcement of the judgments of our Supreme Court or smaller courts. Indeed, this precise issue is frequently the pivot point in whether or not support will be gained from people who show some interest in these bold ideas. We here intend to answer this concern about lack of enforcement by citing both constitutions and statutes, state and federal, which clearly affirm the common right of our American people to organize our own trusted peace officers from the grassroots and upwards through local, township, precinct, and counties, and hereunder lawfully empowering our grassroots activists to enforce all warrants which the unanimous juries of our common law judicial court system might find to be necessary and justified in order to preserve the peace and safety of our common American people. Our lawful basis for exercising these profoundly important peacekeeping power is explained in extensive detail in the last 2 of the 3 web links presented here in the agenda item 5A, and therein citing starting townships, how to start our township communities, and our Building Self-Governing Communities document, and the citations in support of building self-governing communities. I'd like to point out that statutes in virtually every state in the Union, probably, I'll be surprised if it's not every state in the Union, even including Louisiana, recognizes the right to what is called, quote, citizen's arrest, unquote. Okay? And I dare suggest that's a massive, massive, massive power decentralizing statute, source of law, lawful authority. Okay? They recognize the right of citizen's arrest. They aren't even public servants. Our town constables are public servants. Oregon statute, I believe it is, maybe Colorado or Texas. I know I've seen at least one statute that recognizes wording that when any individual exercises a citizen's arrest, they have a duty to take the arrested person to the nearest peace officer or judicial officer. Okay? That's the only way a citizen's arrest is lawful, is if the person being arrested is immediately and responsibly delivered to a public servant, even if it's only an executive officer, commonly interpreted like a local town constable. And that's because of accountability, because otherwise it's just the citizen acting on his own. If he's delivering it to a higher judicial authority, then it's not anarchy. It's subject to overriding law. There is lawful superior authority that citizen making the citizen's arrest is subjecting himself to, and thereunder his presumption is that he is acting lawfully. Okay? And there's other statutes at the next higher level when these statutes say that it's unlawful, it's a separate crime to resist arrest by a peace officer. It's not a separate crime to resist a citizen's arrest, but it is a separate crime, according to some statutes anyway, to resist arrest by a peace officer. Okay? And so even higher authority is given to your town constable, because your town constable is statutorily recognizable as a peace officer. That's how it fits together. He's not only statutorily recognizable as a peace officer, he is a peace officer under common law jurisdiction. And with that higher authority of the town constable peace officer that might be making the arrest or receiving the arrest from the arrestee from a citizen, that town constable, according to the statute, articulating common law principles, the town constable has a duty, as soon as reasonably possible, to bring the arrested person before a judicial officer. The tradition is within 24 hours for the judicial officer to summarily ascertain whether or not there truly is probable cause to believe that the arrested person has committed the crime, and if so, to take the appropriate action of either incarcerating him or securing some sort of a bail that can reasonably assure his appearance in court proceedings, which under common law jurisdiction, where we have lots of grassroots courts ready and waiting for cases to come, prompt and efficient administration of justice in the local jurisdictions. That's the whole common law plan, as well as biblical Torah law plan. Thereunder, when the town constable brings the USD before the judicial officer says, hey, well, looks like we've got probable cause to believe you committed a crime, and apparently you're flat broke, you can't post bail, and I think we can get our jury together within 48 hours here. We're going to keep you for a couple of days here in our local jail, and we'll get a jury and we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll do some investigation from witnesses here. We'll get potential jurors right on it from the local community here, and we'll figure out whether or not there's any merits to what prompted your arrest here and the accusation behind it. Why don't you just cool your heels there in our jail cell for a couple of days, and we'll get to the bottom of this in a real quick and efficient manner. And thereunder, the local responsibly self-governing community has authority to use force and to point guns at people, anybody that might be breaching the peace in their precinct or township community, okay? It's like I was talking about earlier, it's like an egg. The real hard issues are on the outside of the shell with the local town constables and the local justice of the peace and the qualified electors that are acting as an organic body politic, harmonious with their competently elected and organically accountable judicial and executive officers, the town constables and the judicial officer, justice of the peace there. So that is the sovereignty at the precinct level. When you've got the judicial power functioning and the town constables exercising the executive power, that is the complete enchilada for exercising the sovereignty as a free and independent nation state. And the county at the next higher level is merely an association of these sovereign, fully sovereign, self-governing precincts, judicially accountable precincts. And the counties thereunder, going to the state level, the counties are similar associations of the state is merely an assembly of the responsibly self-governing counties. And so it's all grassroots accountable. It's all percolating bottom up for keeping the peace and purging the criminal elements from each of these responsibly self-governing communities. And so I think at that point we should conclude reading from the agenda items. Is there further discussion on this last issue of enforcement and the town constables and citizens arrest?
Yes, I would like to say something about that. What you're saying is really true, but this is not reality to the majority of the people. And so when we transition into something like that, we're going to have to use also, because if right now I can say what the law is about, but if I go arrest somebody and they don't even look at me as an authority figure, that's going to be a problem. So we're going to have reality with this. If we have like the Amish people have their own community already set up or organized, they can't come in our community and do certain things, and then we could do that. But we can't just not go out into the public and say someone is, I think when that can be done, things like that will gradually happen as we transition and people be more aware of some people don't even know that they're enslaved by the court system. They believe in the court system. And they do not look at us as peace officers. And if, like right now, if I had a community, like this community where I live at, was totally engraved like the Amish, yes, I can control that, and it's going to take step after step. But when you're talking like that, that organization has to be set up, because it would be such I mean, you don't want bloodshed for a situation that can be handled. What we have to look at when we start doing that is how aware the people out there about this movement as well, and educating them with that, and how well structured our community is to do something like that. But just right now, for me to say, even though that's the law, I'm going to go out there and do that, that will be a very dangerous thing to do, and it would be, I think, malice. It would be, you have to have a plan, and you have to have your organization set up for that to go towards it, because a certain way you're going to have to do things to transition into that point, and less bloodshed for our brothers and sisters that's ignorant to that point, and they have to be knowledgeable about it. So it's about making the public aware of some of these things and stuff like that, and getting our situation organized before you just go out there and start saying, oh, this is the law. And you're dealing with people's lives, you're talking about guns, you're talking about all these other stuff. But it's a way that we're going to have to handle that, and that's when the groups get together and see what they have on the table to organize this group to become efficient for that, so we can also handle this in the most peaceful manner that you possibly can, but also transition so that we can get our freedom back. I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Cynthia. I'm glad you drew out that point about we want to be responsible, and we don't want to just take these ideas and run with them. That's part of why we're here in conference, so that we can talk about the practical applications of these profoundly empowering lawful authorities that are at our fingertips here. We don't want any crazy ideas like this blowing up in our face and causing more harm than good. I think it's important to remember Abraham's example of the Samoan that is coming in there with a camera and witnesses and citing statutes such as what I just talked about for citizens arrest and things like that. When we have it organized with a group of people, and everything's being video recorded, at that point, then we can go ahead and start presuming that we might be ready to go ahead and start doing some practical application in the real world. But the wise course would definitely be, as I believe you're inferring, Cynthia, to if it's just individuals of us that are hearing these things, don't go trying these things yourself. Wait until you've got some type of a community of people. This is why you need to be going to churches or bars or shopping centers or wherever God is inspiring you to go to communicate with people that might be similarly concerned about about God's holy justice on this earth. When you can find a few more people like that, then you've got opportunity to build community with them, wherein you support them in their issues and they support you in yours. At that point, you've got your trust community, your basic township community coming together, and you've got your second witnesses that can assist you, that can run your video camera when you're doing the confrontation, or when they're doing the confrontation. You can run the video camera for them and be their second witness. And at that point, then you're much more likely to be successful with the general proposition that these profoundly empowering statutes are implied.